So now that we've introduced ourselves to the lab and become familiar with the safety protocols and procedures, we are now going to become familiar with the various lab equipment we will be using this semester. The first item on our list is a measuring cylinder. We use this to measure out specific volumes of liquids. The second item is called an Erlenmeyer flask. We will be using an Erlenmeyer flask for titration purposes. The third item on our list is considered to be a volumetric flask. Volumetric flasks are used to create stock solutions. If we need to dilute a stock solution, we will be using a more specific measuring system known as a pipette. When we weigh out solid chemicals, we will transfer the solid chemical after weighing in what is known as a beaker to our lab bench. If we need to reconstitute our solid chemical into a liquid form, we will take the solid chemical in the beaker and reconstitute it with a liquid with our glass stirring rod. The other end of a glass stirring rod is rubberized at a 45-degree angle. This is known as a rubber policeman. This will be used to gather any chemical residue left at the bottom of the beaker that is needed for our experiment. When weighing out chemicals at the weigh station with our weighing paper, we will be using a scupula. A scupula is angled so that we can use small amounts of the chemical. A different type of paper you will be introduced to is filter paper. Filter paper is thicker and circular in comparison to the weigh paper. If we need to dry out chemicals, we will always use the filter paper and put it on a watch glass. Sometimes the experiments we do require small volumes of liquid. If this is the case, we will be using test tubes. Test tubes come in a variety of sizes. For instance, this is a 10 milliliter test tube. Our test tubes will always be in a test tube rack. Another size we might be using is a 25 milliliter test tube. Due to heat from a chemical reaction or heat we're introducing to the chemical system, we will never touch a test tube with our hands, but use tongs. One of the final pieces of lab equipment we will be using is our retort stand. We will be using retort stands to hold up things such as burettes, demonstrated on the retort stand with a clamp. There are two specific types of clamps we will be seeing in our experiments. This one noting rubberized ends, typically to hold up a burette. When heating chemicals in our glassware, such as an Erlenmeyer flask, we will be using a three-pronged clamp. While doing a titration experiment, we will be also using a ceramic tile. The ceramic tile is always white in order to assess any potential change in color. So again, taking your Erlenmeyer flask, using it for a titration with our burette, we will be able to determine, based on a white background, if any color changes has occurred. This concludes our general overview of the lab equipment you will be using this semester. Our next video will demonstrate proper weighing procedures at the weigh station.